Buying these investments could be a little bit tricky if you're doing it for the first time. But for now, let's get you started. The first thing we need to do is, well, set up an account and then also learn how to buy index funds, ETFs, mutual funds, or whatever else you're into. But I'm gonna walk you through it step by step. So open up another tab, get your phone, and let's go to Vanguard.com. Oh, now, I'm feeling lucky. All right, so now we're here. We've made it to investor.vanguard.com, and that means you're at the right place. So here we can see the tabs. We have personal investors, retirement plan participants, institutional investors. In which case, if you're an institutional investor, why are you watching my video? Anyway, you're probably a personal investor. So you're gonna click here, and once you get here, you're gonna go to the tab where it says open an account in the upper right hand. All right, there it is. And now it says, what would you like to do? So we could either open a new account, which is probably why you're watching this video, or move an account or assets to Vanguard. So if you want to start a new account, we're going to go right here where it says start a new account. So now, how are you going to fund this new account? Well, you have three options. You could do it straight from your bank account, which is the first option right here, electronic bank transfer, and then the second one is a rollover if you have a 401k plan, for example. For the most part, you're going to just be transferring money straight from your bank account, so that's the option I would choose. Continue. Do you have login? No. You're new here, right? So continue. All right, so you could read this, but basically you only have the only option to continue. Your new account process, you have to choose an account type. It's gonna take around 5 to 10 minutes. And once you create your account, it's gonna take around 3 to 7 days to get started investing. So you continue. So now you have to choose what account type you want. That means, are you gonna do it for retirement? Do you wanna open a Roth IRA account or a traditional IRA? Is it a general investing, a normal taxable account? Is it for college savings? So for the most part, you're either probably interested in an IRA or a taxable account. So for me, I'm just gonna say general investing. It's just a normal brokerage taxable account. And you could either individual or a joint. So I'm an individual, and we continue. So tell us about yourself. Now you just have to fill in your information. I'm gonna go with Johnny Banana. Okay, so once you have the personal information typed down like I do right here, Johnny Banana, you can now go and hit continue. And now that you're here, now you press continue, you put your mailing address, your zip, just pretty standard stuff. I'm pretty sure you could do on your own, so go ahead and do that. And then you're gonna hit continue and go ahead, and it's gonna ask you to verify it, and you just press continue. Okay, right now, then you should be in this page. It's gonna ask you some of your investing goals and stuff like that, so you could go ahead and answer that. Primary investment objective, capital preservation, income growth. Mine would be growth. Secondary, income. It's gonna ask you where are you gonna be funding your account from. So mine would be from general savings / retirement or my salary. You hit continue. It's gonna ask you to fill out your personal information once again, so you know the drill. Johnny Banana. And once again, you have to fill in your mailing address and more personal information. Now I'm gonna skip over these personal information questions because they're pretty self-explanatory. So here you have to talk about your employment status. So employed, you put your occupation, all this personal stuff. Are you married to a Vanguard employee? All things you could answer by yourself. So go ahead and pause the video while you fill these things out. Okay, now we're in the established funding section right here. In the beginning, we chose that we're gonna fund this account by our bank account. Now we have to put in our routing number, bank name, account number, and all these bank information. Obviously, I'm not gonna put in my bank information because I already have an account. But the next step after that would just be to put continue and then review and e-sign up here. And by then you should be done and you can move on to the fun part, which is actually buying and selling stocks and mutual funds and everything else we could do on Vanguard. So once you're ready to buy and sell mutual funds or index funds or anything else, what you have to do is then go again to Vanguard.com. We're gonna go to personal investors again. And now we're gonna go to this investing tab. Now, depending on what you wanna buy, let's say you wanna buy some ETFs, you go straight to ETFs. Now down here, we're gonna see browse the list of Vanguard ETFs. So right there, right here it is. Now we can see all these things that we could buy. We have US bond ETFs, US stock ETFs, and now you could just simply go and pick whatever you want. For example, VOO. Oops, this one right here is one of the most popular S&P 500 ETFs out there. So you just go ahead and click on it. Once you're here, it's going to tell you all the information you need to know about that specific ETF. For example, the expense ratio is 0.03%. If you want to buy it, well, it's really easy. You just go down here and you put buy. But if you want to buy index funds, it's just the similar process. You just go back to that ETF page where you have the list of all these ETFs. And instead of going to ETF tab right here, we have mutual fund tabs. Here in this mutual funds tab is where you can find both mutual funds and index funds, because remember, index funds are a type of mutual funds. So once you're in this tab, you could go ahead and filter what exactly it is that you're looking for. So if you're interested in just stocks, for example, you could just filter it up to that. And management, here's where you choose between mutual funds and index funds. If you want index funds, you unclick the active, and that you automatically take out all the mutual funds. So you put C funds, and now you're here. Here is the most popular index fund out there, one that I like a lot, VTSAX. So here would be where you could buy VTSAX, and as you can see, the expense ratio is again super low, 0.04%, and the minimum investment is $3,000. And here you can see hypothetical growth of $10,000. It gives you a nice little chart here. If you start with $10,000, it will probably be $35,000 after 10 years. That's just hypothetical, of course. Could be more, could be less. Down here you can see what the portfolio is composed of. And here we see the top 10 biggest holdings. And here VTSAX has Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet Inc. Most people know it because of Google, Facebook, Tesla, Johnson & Johnson, and you could read the rest. Now I'm going to walk you through on how to actually buy an index fund or an ETF or anything else. For this example, we're going to use VTSAX, the index fund, as an example. So once you're here and you're ready to buy, it's going to ask you where's the money going, and it gives you two options. You could either add another Vanguard mutual fund or your federal money market. Your federal money market is where the money that you transfer from your bank account ends up. So that's not where you want your money. You want your money into VTSAX in this example. So you would have to put add another Vanguard mutual fund, and it's already pre-selected for you right there. You select it, and now you want to put how much you're gonna buy. So in this case, we'll just go with the minimum, which is $3,000. Now you hit continue. Once you hit continue, that's gonna ask you where's the money coming from. So now you have to put whether it's gonna be from your actual bank account, straight from your checkings account, from your settlement fund, which is your federal money market, and usually I put my actual checkings account. So I go ahead and I put continue. It's gonna ask you to accept. You're gonna accept. And then once you're here, it's that easy. At first it took me a while to understand how it is I'm gonna do this, and obviously I'm not gonna buy right now, but you would just put submit. And once you put submit, well, there you go, you bought it. Another thing that you could see in this page right here is the expense ratio. And the expense ratio is probably the most important fee or ratio that you need to pay attention to. Because the expense ratio is basically how much you have to pay Vanguard or any other investing platform to buy something. And I'll explain in a minute. And now here in this page, as well as in the other one, you could see all these things that could be really intimidating. You have ticker symbol, asset class, expense ratio. The price is obviously a good thing to know. The change, the SEC yield, year to date, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, and since inception. Seeing all of this data could be pretty intimidating, but the thing that I look out for the most is the expense ratio. I think it's probably one of the most important things to look out. The expense ratio is basically a fee that you have to pay to maintain your portfolio or to maintain that fund, for example. The higher it is, the more you have to pay. But thankfully, Vanguard offers really low expense ratios. As you can see, 0.04 is actually really low, and that is really great for personal investors like you and me. Index funds usually have lower expense ratios. As we could see, we could filter out just to index funds if you'd like. So here where it says management, we could have an actively managed, which is the same thing as a mutual fund, or an index fund. So let's just see the index funds, for example. So here you can see that most of these index funds have a really low expense ratio, 0.04, 0.04, 0.05, 0.08, 0.09, 0.14. And that's the highest it will probably go here in Vanguard, which is pretty great. But if we compare that to, let's say, just mutual funds actively managed, we're going to see that they're going to be higher. 0.27%, 0.28, 0.29, you know, just it gets higher. And here you could just filter it out too. 0.46. I would probably not invest into a fund that's higher than 0.5%. Thankfully, Vanguard doesn't even have one that's that high. But anything above 0.5% is just way too high in my opinion. Thankfully, we could invest into index funds that are just 0.04. So here we could see the price. And I'm going to reset all filters so we could see all the things Vanguard has to offer. We have money market funds, US bond funds. Down here we'll have balance funds and US stock funds, the one I'm most interested in. International bonds, international stocks, and sector and specialty funds. For the most part, I think most people are interested in stocks. So right here we could see the different prices. So for example, this one right here, the 500 index Admiral share right now, it's at a price of $358. So let's actually go back to just the US stock and let's see the funds. So here you could see the changes and year to date, what percentage has gone up after 1 year, after 5 years, after 10 years. And of course, since its inception. And here, this section with all the percentages is telling you how much the average annual returns have been. So for example, this means year to date. You know, right now we're in March 2021. Since March, this has gone up 3.3%. And you could filter it out. For example, right now we're just looking at the 500 index Admiral share. But if we want the highest one or the lowest one, for example, this is the lowest. This has gone down 0.60%. It's a dividend growth one. And this has been since, you know, the year to date. But since the inception, which started in 1992, it's gone up 8.95%. And over the past year, 19.50%. Over the past 5 years, 13%. And over the past 10 years, 12%. And you can filter it out like that. See? The one that's been going up the highest out of all these options right here has been the Prime Cap Core. 9.39% since year to date. And you can just go ahead and filter it out. Let's see which one has been the highest over the 10-year span. US growth has been the highest one at 17.93%. So those are things that you could just look at to help you decide what to buy. And now you could just go ahead and pick whichever one you like. Quick recommendation, I love VTSAX. Never mind, I cannot advise anything. This is for entertainment purposes only. That being said, do not forget to like that smash button and subscribe to the village.